Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Level Up Your Mental. My name is Ariel. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and today I wanted to do another video like I did in the last video and just talking about another reality show that I find interesting, that I like to watch on my time off, and just talking about the different situations that these people are in. I thought it would be interesting to do another video on this on 90 Day Fiancé the other way. Now I know 90 Day Fiancé has so many different seasons, so many different versions of it, but this specific one that I'm talking about is the most recent one that was on, and I know these people were in a previous season. I kind of watched that season, but mainly focusing on the one that just happened and their situations and what they're going through now. So I'm just going to go through the couples, go through their situations like I did with the other episode, and just talk about what's been going on. So our first couple that we have is Josh and Lily. I actually don't mind Josh. He seems like a very nice guy. It seems like there's a lot going on for him. He seems like the type of person that really wants this relationship to work out. Lily seems nice too, but she seems very structured. She seems very focused on a lot of things that in her mind seem important for the marriage, but also have impacted Josh a lot. Josh is from South Carolina. Lily is from China. Josh and Lily met on a language learning app. They fell deeply in love, so much so that they got married, and Josh decided to quit his job in America and move to China. Lily is a successful business owner and believes that Josh is her dream man, but with Josh not being able to work in China and Lily being the sole income earner, disagreements start to overtake their relationship, and this financial contrast becomes a major source of contention between the couple. And this is something that we see a lot in the most recent episodes. Lily keeps bringing up the fact that she spent a lot of money on the house, she spent a lot of money on this. They're also trying to have a traditional wedding, which they get into an argument about. He didn't say that he wanted the wedding. She's the one that wanted the wedding to be around her family, and she's saying no, that's not true. He said it the other way. So a lot of miscommunication here. I think a lot of the issues with these shows is that these people are building their relationship and a lot of their stuff based off of hope again, and a lot of things that are not talked about when it comes to relationships and marriage. Like when you build a life with someone, or you're trying to, there's a lot of things that come with it. You got to remember that the two of you are coming from two different backgrounds, and now you're merging the two together, especially when you move to a whole nother country that you know nothing about. And I think for Josh, he was working and he was financially stable and doing everything, but because he loves Lily so much and he wants this to work out, he decided to go to China and be with her. And because he's in China, he has to wait a while to be able to work, and this creates a lot of rift in their relationship because she keeps bringing up the fact that they need money and he's not working, and it's like he's aware of that and there's so much that he can do with it, but he doesn't need to be reminded about it every single time. Before he decided to make that move and they decided to make this happen, they should have had this discussion, and they probably did, but I think it's important to go into detail. Like what is it that we are doing? Before we even decided to move, why didn't we try to save money so that when you go over there, you can at least help until you're able to work? These are things that are important, but we get so caught up in the love and the lust and everything that's going on that we just want to hurry up and be with the person. And then when reality hit and life hits, it's so hard for people to get through it because they don't talk about it beforehand and make a plan. So I think for them, it's going to be a lot of, they need to learn how to communicate. Lily needs to also understand that because you're buying material things and you're doing all of that, it doesn't express your love that much as far as in Josh's eyes. You don't need to keep reminding me that everything that you're doing is for me, and you spent all this money on this and that for me. It's like, I get it and I love it, sure, but I'm already stressed out because I can't work. In China, the man has to be the sole income person, or they have to be an income earner for the family and provide, and he's not doing that, so it's making him feel bad. And I don't think Lily putting all that stuff on him is making it even better. So, watching them throughout this process, I think hopefully they will be able to communicate and move things better in a better process. But I think communication is definitely a big part for them, and for Lily to just understand that Josh is doing as much as he can in this circumstance, but they won't get to the place that they want to be if they don't learn how to communicate. The next couple is going to be Josh and Natalia. I think her name is Natalia, but they call her Tata. So James and Natalia married for 2.5 years after initially meeting online, have been together in Maine. Natalia, who is desperately homesick and has been dealing with health issues, decides she and Josh need to move to Indonesia to be with her family. James struggles to break the news of their move to his tight-knit family, but troubles really set in once the couple is in Indonesia. And we see this when he finally gets up there. And the thing that bothers me again when it comes to this and with this situation specifically with James is the fact that he had a good job in Maine. And Tata kept complaining on the fact that being in Maine, it's snowing, it's cold, it's not what she's used to. Indonesia, it's warm, and she was getting sick. And she wanted to go back home to get treated and get the help that she needs and being able to be around her family, which is completely fine. I won't say that that's not something that can happen. But now the issue lies is that he has to go back to Indonesia and be with her, but he's not working over there. And she promised him that she was going to be working, he's going to be working over there, or the both of them were going to be working with her father. And her father was going to be able to help him to get a job to be selling banana chips, which is something popular over there, but it doesn't really make them that much money. I think he said when he was doing it, when he got over there, it was only like $1 per bag or something like that, which is not going to be enough to provide for them. And when he finally gets over there, they're living in her family's home, which is great as a startup thing. But again, why are we not planning before we decide to make these big moves? Moving to a whole nother country and moving your life for someone is a big step. And if you're not planning, it can just cause a lot of destruction and stuff that could have been avoided beforehand. And it seems as if they were running on a lot of, the possibility of when they get over there that these things will happen, that it led to a lot of issues with them and their communication. Tata seems very family oriented, and every single time they bring up something that has to do with anything regarding their relationship or the family, she cries. And I'm not going to say it's not normal to cry because you're stressed out, but every single time something is brought up and you're crying every single time is an issue. I understand that you want your parents to be good. Nobody wants their parents to be struggling. Your parents provide for you, they do a lot, but the way that you're going about it is not in the best way, and then on top of that, them having the conversation about having kids and her parents talking about, oh, this is what it's going to be like when you guys have kids, and this is what you guys need to do, and this and that. And because her sister also has kids, it also puts more pressure on them. And, Tata wants to fulfill the life that her parents want, and she keeps saying that she wants kids. And my whole thing is that she keeps saying that, last conversation she had with James was that if they have a kid, maybe it'll make their relationship stronger. I don't think people understand the impact of your relationship, your environment, your situation has on kids when you bring them into this world. My first issue is that kids do not choose to be here. And I really want people to understand that. Kids are not choosing to be here. They didn't just wake up one day and say, I want you to be my parent. No, it took two people to come together and have this child. So that's one. Two, a kid is not supposed to be a reason for your marriage to work, a reason for you guys to be stronger. That's not what kids are for. The reason why you're having kids is because you want to be a parent. You want to be a parent to love and nurture and grow a person. And eventually that person is going to grow up to be their own person and be an adult. And if all the environmental issues, the relationship issues, and marriage and all that other stuff is still going on, it's going to affect them as a person. If you guys have not figured out your financial issues, you haven't figured out your marriage issues, and now you're bringing a child into it, that's selfish. It's not fair that the child now has to take on the issues that you as a parent had because you guys didn't figure it out and you just thought that the kid would help you come closer. If you haven't figured out your issues before the child gets there, I don't think the child will make the issue even better. If anything, it will cause more stress and it'll make you guys even more stressed out. Now all your anger and all this other stuff is going towards that, and the kid is seeing that. They're experiencing that. Even though they're not saying something, kids feel things. They know what's going on. They're aware of their environment. So I don't think it's a rush for them to have kids. And I think James's reasons for not having a kid is reasonable in the sense of, what is going on in this world right now and him having those fears. And again, this is another thing of people not having these conversations before they get married. These are important conversations to have. Don't go having kids and getting married and not talking about what your future looks like. So many times I see people get married and they don't talk about what's going to happen when they get married. It's a partnership at the end of the day. Yes, I know people say it's a business, but it's a partnership at the end of the day. That's what marriage is. We're supposed to help each other. Now, I know there's a lot of discourse online of people, 50-50 and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's a partnership and you're supposed to be working together, and a kid is not going to help solve your problem. So before you decide to get married, decide to build a life and do all these things, have a conversation. Stop being afraid to talk to the person that you want to be with for the rest of your life. This should be the person that you can be open and honest with. And the other person needs to learn how to take in that information and not feel offended, not feel some type of way because your significant other, your spouse or your partner, whomever, is bringing up something that they're concerned about. Communication is always a thing that I see that happens with couples, and then I feel like a lot of it would be resolved if we would just talk about things before we decide to do them. They seem like they really do love each other. It just seems like there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of financial stuff that needs to be established, and just a lot of, we need to establish our marriage outside of the family dynamic, because her family is very, very involved in their marriage. And I think that this is the issue that tends to happen with people, is that family members get very involved in something that has nothing to do with them. I understand that you love this person and you want to make sure that they're doing good, and culturally this is what is expected of them, but ultimately they need to make the right decisions and making sure that they are having these kids and doing these things because they want to, and not because society is telling them, or whatever the case may be, because it could be very damaging to the child to be brought up in a world like that. Our next couple is Shekinah and Sarper. Shekinah is from California, Sarper is from Turkey. After being back in the US for 3 months, Shekinah is making her move to Turkey to be with her reformed bad boy partner Sarper. The couple works to resolve their issues. However, women from Sarper's past reach out to Shekinah, which leaves her questioning how well she really knows Sarper. These two definitely have a lot of issues. Sarper has his own issues I think he needs to go get help for, which we saw in the last episode. She said, like, in order for us to work out, you need to go to do some therapy by yourself, because there's a lot of internal issues that he has going on. He has had sex with so many women, and I think he said in his past that was his way of coping, which is never healthy. And so with him having sex with all these women, he kept alcohol bottles in remembrance to those times. And I know Shekinah, one of her things was, I want you to get rid of that stuff because you're with me now. You should not be harping on those past things. And so that was one of their first arguments when she moved to Turkey, was that, why do you still have this stuff? Why isn't, any of the stuff thrown away? And we spoke about this. And so that was one of their big arguments. The other thing is that she got into a physical altercation with him, which led them to be in separate places, but then they end up having a conversation in the last episode about what's going on, and he doesn't really take as much accountability for his actions as far as understanding why she felt the way that she felt. How they had to do their argument was not in the best way, but I understand where she's coming from, where it's like, I do not want a vanity right now. That's not what I want. It's not what I need right now. I need us to figure out what the heck we're going through and what we're planning on doing, and that's not what I need. And for him, he's like, well, I really want to buy you this thing. I know you really want one. And he's not listening. And I think that's the issue, is that we're not listening to the people that we love. Sometimes we think that we know best for people, and I think that's selfish, because we have to listen to what somebody wants. You may think that this may be the best thing for someone, but they're telling you right now, I don't want that. And if you proceed to go ahead and continue to do it, it's very disrespectful, and it just makes a person feel like you're not listening to anything that I'm saying, and you're just going based off of what you want. And that's not healthy. You have to be able to listen to each other, understand each other's needs, and work together as a partnership. And they seem to have a lot of issues where they're not talking about things. He's focusing on the past, and she's very worried about other people. Why are you going to meet up with an ex from him? We don't know if any of the stuff that she's saying true. We don't know if she's just, trying to get on the TV show just because. We don't know. And I think that's another issue too. You should be talking to your partner, not to other people that have been involved with him and taking their word and just going by it. Now, I'm not saying that he's ultimately also gonna be telling you the exact truth. We don't know. But when something happens in your relationship, you're supposed to talk to your partner. Of course you can get advice from other people, but the number one person that you're supposed to go and talk to is them, because The relationship, the marriage, the situation has to do with the two of you. Bringing in outside stuff is not going to make it any better. And we can see that within the two of them, because she goes and meets up with his ex-girlfriend and he's already mad. And it's like, why would you go and meet up with her? Now, I don't know the intentions. He could have been upset because the ex-girlfriend was right and she's saying a lot of truths, or it could be a thing of she's lying and, you know, he's trying to tell Shekinah that it's not true and she's not believing him. And this is why you don't bring outside people in, because it creates a lot of rift and it creates issues. So I think for them, it's going to be, again, communication, listening to each other, and learning how to move past the past. If you want to be with someone, you cannot harper on their past, especially if it's something that you guys said that you're willing to move on. If it's something that happened before you guys were even together, we can't go back. There's nothing that we can do. So moving forward, we have to figure out, how do we stop these issues from happening? How do we develop our relationship and make this thing better for us? Because the way that we're moving right now is not helping either of us, and it's continued to create an issue. And I think if they don't get this fixed, they're not going to be the best together, and they really should separate if it's not going to work. The next couple that we have is Joanne from New York and Sean from Ireland. Already secretly married, Joanne and Sean decide they need to physically be together in Ireland, where Sean lives, for them to create a home base. But before Joanne can even begin thinking about moving to Ireland, she needs the approval of her two sons, whom she is finally bringing to meet Sean. Things take a turn in Ireland, and Sean and Joanne get pulled into multiple directions and deal with strains that have been caused by carrying their secret. Now, this is another issue where I feel like children are involved, and it's not fair that the children have to be a result of your decisions. You decided to secretly get married to this man, and now you're saying that you want to move to Ireland, which you promised to this man, but you haven't even had that conversation with your sons yet. And me being from New York and knowing what the New York area, New Jersey area, and having to move from there to go to a whole nother country that has nothing to do with that area, because my mom now is in love with this man, it doesn't seem fair for the kids. And on top of that, their father is in that area. And I know the kids are a little bit older, but all these things come into consideration. When you decided to get married secretly, you weren't thinking about anybody else. You guys were only thinking about yourself. And now that reality has hit, you have to have these hard conversations with the people that you love. And it sucks, but you decided to put yourself in this situation. You see in the beginning that Joanne has a conversation with her mom, and her mom gets upset that she secretly got married because they're close, which I can get. It's like, it's deceiving. It's kind of like, you never told me that this happened. We're supposed to be close. Why are you hiding this from me, right? And I think that's the big issue with this whole entire series or whatever. Everything is a secret to these people's family, and the way that their families respond, it's like a lot of them don't understand. And it's like, how would you feel if someone that you're close with, a family member or whomever, has been holding something like this as a secret from you, and they expect for you to just act normal like it just happened? It doesn't work that way. We have to understand that humans have emotions, things happen, and we're not going to make the person feel bad because of how they responded. Taking the kids over there to meet Sean, I think, is a good idea, but having that conversation with the kids there and then telling them that there's a potential chance that you're going to be moving there is definitely going to be an interesting conversation to see. I think that comes on in the next episode, so I can't wait to see how that's going to go. I also didn't like the fact that Sean lied to his own daughter and said that him and Joanne are just friends, and saying that he doesn't want to say anything until blah blah blah, or get... None of this makes any sense. So now that she's over there, you guys are sleeping in separate beds, continuing this lie in front of your daughter, and saying that this person is someone that you don't know yet, or saying that this person is just a friend. All of this stuff is damaging. Like, all of this stuff affects kids, and then we wonder why we have so many adults in this world that don't know how to manage their emotions, don't know how to deal with things, you know, turn out the way that they turn out, because everything affects them. And I think people forget that every little part of your life affects you when you become an adult. And getting secretly married and not speaking the truth into your kids, and I get it, nobody wants to introduce people to their kids early so that they don't get attached because they don't know if it's going to work out. That's completely fine. But the way that she's going about it now, and being over there with her best friend and everybody else being involved in their relationship, it's going to be very hard for them to have this conversation and seeing if it'll be smoothed over. So even though people say that marriage is just a piece of paper, it's still an important piece of paper, and it's something that you have to think about and really put all your ducks in a row before you decide to get involved, because I've seen a lot of people get hurt, not only the people involved but kids too, in situations that they didn't even choose to be in. And then we have Statler and Dempsey. They were in the last season. I remember watching them a little bit. I believe Dempsey came to Texas and stayed with Statler. So Statler and Dempsey are about to embark on their great European van life when Dempsey passionately plans out their new lives on the road. Living in a van, Statler becomes increasingly overwhelmed and doubts her decisions about this drastic life change. Once the couple starts to make their way through Europe, Statler's anxiety really begins to bubble over, and it is obvious this European adventure might not turn out so spectacular after all. And we see this as they go through their journey, even before they start on their journey. Statler has a lot of anxiety and stuff that she really needs to get some work on, you know. And I think Dempsey also needs to be a little bit more considerate when it comes to this. Everybody deals with anxiety in a different way. Just because you're not anxious about a situation doesn't mean that the other person's anxiety is wrong or how they respond to it. Everybody's situations are different, and it seems as if Statler has a way to deal with it, but when Dempsey keeps poking at it, it makes it even worse. And you know, in the beginning they really talked about money. Again, finance is a big part when it comes to marriage, when it comes to couples, relationships. And it's another thing that I see people shy away from, which is not good, because it's always going to come up, especially if you're living together, especially if you're in a van together. Money is going to be a conversation that is going to happen. So I think for them, they didn't really talk about it. There are a lot of things that Dempsey wasn't truthful to Statler about, which makes her a little bit sketchy, because it's like, why didn't you tell me that you saved money and then you told me that you need the money right now, so I sold my car and all this other stuff. But Statler too, like, why are you not checking her on these things? Why are you going to sell your car automatically and not even having a plan? Again, people are living off of this thing of hope and this dream life. You know, you see a lot now of a lot of people doing a lot of these road living lives of living in vans and all these different stuff, which is great. I'm happy for people living the dreams that they want to do, but I just wish people would plan more and, you know, let these people know what that's going to be like. I felt like when it comes to the van life, Dempsey should have really kept Statler on every little detail to help with her anxiety. No, it's going to be okay. We're going to get this van. This is what it looks like. We're going to go all these different stops, and that's what it's going to look like. This is what it takes to take care of a van. All these little things can help when it comes to someone who's anxious, because with the anxiety, there's so many thoughts that are running through their head and they can't get a clear answer logically on what's happening. Of course they want to, but because the anxiety is so much, it's hard for them. It would have helped for Dempsey to be a little bit more open on what's going on and helping her getting Statler prepared on what this journey was going to look like. I also think it was important for Statler to ask more questions. I think it's also important that when Statler is having these anxiety attacks, that Dempsey can help her. I mean, we have to be realistic here. This person has mental health issues. You probably don't have it. This is something that you dream for, but this is your partner. Again, you need to help them. She's feeling overwhelmed. Help her. Calm her down. When they're on the boat, instead of calming her down, she's questioning her. She's getting her even more anxious. She's trying to tell you that this is how she feels. Of course, people who have anxiety know that their thoughts are not something that is going to happen right now, but it's a possibility, and that's something that they're stuck on, and they need the help to be able to get them off that ledge and for them to be okay. Them going through this journey is going to be interesting to watch how the road life is going to continue to affect their situation, because I think this is different than moving somewhere and living in a house, but being on the road and having to share expenses and being in a small space and being around that person all the time, you have to learn how to communicate and how to be open and honest and learn how to problem solve together. It's not going to work if you guys are going to bump heads all the time and somebody's going to get mad at somebody else because of how they respond to certain things. So for them, definitely a lot of communication, being honest with each other and learning how to help each other in certain moments. Dempsey needs to learn how to be a little bit nicer to Statler when she's going through her anxiety attacks. It might not be realistic to her, but in that moment, it's not about you. It's making sure that that person is good so that you guys can get back on a good page and continue to move. I feel like the boat situation would have been a whole different thing if she had approached it differently, but it didn't go that way. So waiting to see what the next episode is going to bring. And our last couple is Corona and Ingi. Corona's from Pennsylvania, Ingi is from Iceland. After meeting in Iceland following a night of partying, Corona, a midwife in training, decides to move to Iceland to be with her Icelandic Viking Ingi. even if that means giving up her spot in a prestigious midwifery program. Once she arrives, Corona quickly realizes her hot romance may be a little too icy for her. With Ingi's limited dating experience coupled with the fact that she may not be able to study in the midwifery program there in Iceland, Corona must make the ultimate decision to stay in Iceland to pursue love or return to the US to pursue her dream career. Her going over there and making this big decision on this man who doesn't even know what's happening with them. Every time they talk about stuff that has to do with their future, he's just like, whoa, we've only been dating for a couple of months. I don't see that happening. And then getting introduced to his family where his mom is very out of touch to what is going on. We as Black people know that we don't like when people touch our hair. I know she didn't mean it in a mean way, but when it comes to our hair, you can ask, but a lot of people will say no because we're not an animal. You know, I get it. Our hair seems very interesting. It's different. I get it. But for us, it makes us feel weird. Why are you touching me? Why are you, looking at me like I'm some next creature that you've never seen before? I get the curiosity. I get that you want to see what it feels like and such, but it doesn't come from a good end to us. It doesn't come out right. And I think that was another major issue for them, is that a lot of the people in Iceland probably haven't been around people of color, probably don't know much, don't have much of a background on culture or whatever the case may be. And that's, again, a conversation that they should have had. He should have, been advised of what's going on. But to be honest, he doesn't seem like he's very invested in this relationship. He seems like he's just going along with it, and it is what it is. This man didn't even have a section in his home, spaced out for her to put her belongings. And that was one of the things that she wanted to happen before she got there. But it seems as if he doesn't really care. He's just going by it. And she's just like, well, I'm hoping that this will work. And it seems as if it's one of those situations where one person seems to be more involved than the other, and usually that doesn't turn out for the best, because then the person starts to realize that they're putting in more work than the other person, and then it doesn't turn out to be the best situation. There's definitely a lot of culture difference that I feel needs to have a conversation about. Her family seems very involved, and they seem very caring, and that they want the best from her. She seems to be very, very, I don't want to say blinded by love, but she's really expecting a lot from this relationship, to the fact that, leaving her spot in a possible program is the part that really bothered me, because you always want to make sure that you are doing well as a person before you decide to move and do other things for other people. And now you're stuck in Iceland and you can't work, and you're having to rely on this person. So I think for them, it's definitely going to be a lot of trying to figure out if this is a situation that they really want to work out for themselves. I know Ingi doesn't have much of the experience when it comes to not long lasting, but long relationships in general. And for him, I don't want to use that as an excuse, but if you've never been in a relationship for a long time, then you don't know how much commitment, how much work it takes to be with another person, especially a person from a whole nother country, a whole nother background, a whole nother race, that you guys are bringing two worlds together and trying to make it work. And I think that is the continued issue as far as with this show, is that these people are bringing two walks of life together, and they don't understand how much work that involves. The only thing that they are worried about is their happiness, their romance, and making sure that this thing works out. I mean, good thing for them is that they don't have any kids, so no kids are involved in this situation. But I think this really has to do with Corona giving up her life dream of being a midwife and getting into this program for this man who doesn't even seem as much as involved as you are. So I think a lot of it is going to be taking a step back, trying to figure out, is this something that we want to do? And if it is, how are we going to make this work? How is Corona going to be able to do the thing that she's been dreaming of doing her whole entire life? And Ingi being able to sit down and settle down and really understand that you were in a serious relationship, and we got to figure out what we're going to do for the future. And if you don't think that that's something you want to do, then let me go. I think a lot of time people want to hold on to something because they want it to work out so bad, but it's like sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. But learning to move away from those things and stop forcing situations, I think, is important. And hopefully they can realize that between the two of them, because if not, I don't know if that's really going to work out for them. So I want to thank you guys for tuning into another episode. I'm going to continue trying to do these reality shows in between my other videos. I think it's a very interesting thing to talk about. So if there's any shows that you guys would like me to talk about, just let me know. Movies, whatever, I will gladly talk about them. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.